Hello, everyone. As you know, I'm from South Korea, and people from my country love food. So today, I'll be talking about what else? Food. Specifically, I'll be talking about changes in the Korean diet in the 20th century. First, as you might know, South Korea is a country that developed very quickly. Around 50 years ago, South Korea was a developing agricultural country. Today, it's one of the most modern countries in Asia, and people's diets have modernized too. In my research, I've been looking at these dietary changes and trying to answer this question. Which kind of diet is better? A traditional diet or a modern one? Okay, this chart shows what Koreans ate in two different years, 1969, before Korea started modernizing, and 1995, after Korea was modernized. You can see that in 1969, people were eating about 37 ounces of food every day. And in 1995, they were eating about 39 ounces of food. That's not a very big change. So even when Korea was a developing country, overall, people had enough food.
Miran, may I say something here? You're talking about the average amount of food, so maybe some people really didn't have enough to eat. Can we really assume that everyone was eating well?
That's a good point. Actually, because Korea was a farming country then, almost everyone had some kind of food, but their diets weren't always healthy. Okay, moving on. When we compare the kinds of food people ate, we see a significant difference. The most important food in Korea is rice. We eat it 3 times a day. In 1969, people were eating 20 ounces of rice every day, more than a pound. That's a lot of rice, around 6 servings per day. But if you don't eat a varied diet, you're not going to be very healthy. By 1995, people were eating only 11 ounces of rice and other grains per day, much less than in the past. Now remember, the total amount of food increased during that period of time. So, what specific foods were people eating in 1995? If you look at the chart, you'll see that people were eating more of everything. Their diets became much more varied. The amount of vegetables they ate increased a little from 9.5 ounces a day in 1969 to 10 ounces a day in 1995. But people were eating a lot more fruit. The amount of fruit people ate increased from about 2 ounces a day to about 5 ounces a day. They were getting more vitamins from that extra fruit. And look at meat. In 1969, people were only eating a very tiny amount of meat, about 1/4 of an ounce a day. In 1995, they were eating almost 2.5 ounces a day. That's 10 times as much. Finally, look at the numbers for milk. Okay, in 1969, people were only drinking about 1/10 of an ounce of milk per day. In 1995, that increased to about 2.3 ounces a day. All in all, Korean people's diets in 1995 were much closer to government guidelines than they used to be.
Could I ask a question, Miran? Is that just milk, or does that include other dairy products too?
That includes all dairy products. A lot of Koreans like yogurt and ice cream, though there are regional differences. People in different parts of the country like to eat different things. It varies. All right, to continue. As the country developed, instead of just eating a lot of rice and vegetables, Koreans started including many other kinds of food in their diets, especially animal products like meat, fish, eggs, and dairy products. One reason for this change was that people had more money, so they could buy more of these expensive foods. The percentage of animal products in the Korean diet went from 3% in 1969 to almost 21% in 1995. That's the biggest change in the Korean diet. Now, Some nutritionists recommend having a diet that consists of mostly plant foods, such as grains and fruits and vegetables. They think animal products, meat, cheese, butter, and so on, aren't healthy. But I'm not sure those nutritionists are totally correct. That's because young Koreans today are taller than before. The average height of teenage boys is about 3.5 inches taller. And the average teenage girl is almost 2 inches taller. It's very interesting. I think that young people now are taller because of the improved diet. Meat, milk, cheese, and other animal products are good sources of protein. And if a population eats more protein, people are taller on average. Really, in general, people in Korea are healthier now. So, in conclusion, I want to return to my original question. Which is better, a modern diet or a traditional diet? Now, in some of the other presentations, we heard about places where the modern diet has caused some new health problems. But my research on South Korea shows us that in some ways, at least, a modern diet can be better than a traditional diet. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions?